All right.
It's okay.
Keep on.
We're just doing the unepisode rhythm and roll.
Yes. All right.
We've dealt with way more lag than 1 second, Brian.
That's true.
Like 3 seconds sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, too.
4 seconds, 5 seconds. It's not you. It's not your fault. It's just where you live.
Well, we just need to record in person. It's going to solve the issue.
See, yeah, exactly.
Why can't you just move your carcass
a lot
up
of
here?
people, we've talked about this before. These like kind of unepisodes that we really like doing are just kind of like us just talking, and that's what we're doing right now. We're just capturing it, but now they're getting a little. Them, meaning the audience, is getting a little taste into what our pre-conversations are like, where I'm like Brian's lamenting his internet connection, and I'm just telling him it's not his fault.
Well,
That's
thank
pretty
you
much
for that
weekly,
positive affirmation in my life.
That's a weekly thing with us right now.
So I get on Zoom calls. My coworkers just know that at some point I'm going to turn into a robot and repeat the same word again and again. And on the other computer that I use sometimes for things, it has a Logitech camera on it. And I like the quality of the thing, but for some reason, it will glitch. And I don't know why. It will glitch, and all of a sudden I'm repeating myself. But as soon as I rip it down to just like the Mac normal camera, normal mic, it works great. But sometimes
it's
you
just
need
got
extra.
to be the camera, hardware.
Yeah.
It's not talking to it.
Yep,
So.
something. And we had that today. There's nothing that ever goes right, which is why I actually.
I had to restart my computer too. It's like in the computer, it's just sitting here. Like it's doing what it's supposed to do. I hadn't used it since we used it for a Zoom call earlier in the week or last week, and it was working kind of fine then. And then it just decides, nope, you need to restart. And so I honestly don't know why tech is like that, but when it works, and it allows us to do this podcast basically remote recording, which is
good.
Pretty awesome. Yeah.
But
it allowed us to get consistent with episodes anyway.
You know what? And this is why I don't want to have a chip in my head ever. Even if I ever had the option. I don't want to
reboot that thing.
Yeah, because hey, I didn't use it and nothing changed except now it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's kind of like getting the paddles on the ER table, like when your heart stops. It's like you start it up and it's over again. That's the human form of reboot. Start over again.
Well, we still get it done though. I was thinking about. So this is where I was actually thinking about where so much of, you don't want to sign up for struggle needlessly ever. That's just kind of foolish.
Right.
But there's been a major flip where things work right or they don't work right. And there is a standard operating procedure, I think, generally, where when we grew up, it was like, well, when it doesn't go right, here's what we do. There's a backup plan.
Yeah.
And let me be clear, because it doesn't mean that you don't have a plan that you plan to stick to. But it's accommodating for those things to kind of guarantee that it's going to work.
Well, it's going to guarantee the result that you want. So, like, I'm always trying to do that. Like, I might have 3 and 4 different ways of doing something, and I might actually be working on, like, 2 of them at one time to get one result, because I kind of am aware that sometimes a snafu happens or things that are beyond my control, which is something I've tried to talk about to my boss before. And I go, well, I just try to be efficient with this, and I'm trying to do this a certain way, but sometimes things are beyond my control, and I can't, but you still need the result, so I'm going to get the result for you. It's just going to be a different way, and it might be harder for me to do, and it might require more sacrifice on my side or just another way of thinking, but I'm going to do it. And so I think that, like, you and I both think that way a lot. And, we think of it that way and kind of like in common, you know what I mean?
We do.
In that regard.
I think, but it was more of a natural language for us, I think, initially. And for some people it is more, and some people it's not. And there's not you're a better person or not. It's just how you're wired with it. But this is why Josh and I like doing what we do, is because we kind of have those same proclivities to solve things.
Yeah.
We actually...
And I like the challenge. I do like the struggle, believe it or not. Like, I think human beings do like struggle in a way, because when you overcome that obstacle, it's something that, like, is very, for me anyway, it's deeply satisfying.
There's a visceral feeling when it's not digital. Like if I go out and I do something out in the yard, I feel accomplished. Even if it's like, hey, I picked up a piece of trash.
Yeah. I know. Like if I mow my lawn, which for me, because of my struggle with health, like last year was a real struggle to mow my lawn. Now I go out there and I can mow the whole lawn in like an hour, the whole thing.
Oh, that's great.
And I barely break a sweat unless it's like 105, which it has been lately. But it's like amazing to me just a year. And I still have the anxiety kind of. Like when I'm going to go out and mow the lawn, I'm going to be like, okay, like I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. But then I got out there, I'm like, yeah, I can do this now. So it's like a whole different thing. But once it's done, like you said, I feel energized. Like I feel great about it. It's a good physical workout too. And I think physical workouts really do help to work off anxiety and like the kind of like, just that feeling that you're not doing anything, that you're not getting anything accomplished. Because I think like human beings, especially like Brian and I, when we do like remote work, we're in an office. We're sitting down in front of a computer, and people aren't really made to just sit still all the time. And we need to get out and move and do that and feel that thing. Like sometimes I'll even get out and just walk around my house a little bit. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I'll just get out and walk and like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just can't sit down for that long, or if I have multiple like, quote unquote off days from my 9-to-5 job, I'll be after like 2 days. I'm kind of like, okay, I'm getting squirrely here. I need to like do something.
Yep.
And so like even like my office, which I'm kind of like always in the midst of retransitioning and remixing it around and trying to find some. I'm actually thinning out some of my game collection, not a ton of it, but just some of it I picked out like 7 or 8 pieces, and I'm like, I'm going to just get rid of this stuff. And so I've been starting to get that. But that kind of makes me feel accomplished, too, because I have a lot of stuff.
You have a lot of stuff. When you look at my...
Yeah.
If you were to see the video, which at some point, Josh, we'll just have to level up and maybe...
Yeah, I know. And it's kind of messy right now because I've been working on this area over here. And you can see where I'm actually like piling stuff and working on it. But yeah, it is. I have like a retro TV back there. I've got a nice 4K display, which I use for CC stuff and editing actually now. But now I've been using this ultra wide monitor more. But this monitor I use for that. I also use it to game. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to at least show a picture of this at some point.
They're going to be way more interested in
so
looking at your view than mine. Because
I was in a meeting
Go ahead.
where that happened, where one of the guys in the meeting says, I got up to the bathroom and somebody was talking about like who's the guy with all the cool stuff in his room.
Not Brian.
No, and one of my friends was like, oh, well, that's Josh. That's his game room and office. He goes, it's kind of baller, actually. I've been there. And I was like, oh, okay. I go, this horde of digital items, it's like...
People spend a lot of money though, to
cool.
make it look like they have some hoard of something or some kind of Zen moment where...
Yeah, and I mean, for me, it wasn't even like... I mean, yes, I spent a lot of money over the years, but it's not all at once. I mean, I could not afford to start game collecting today. With the prices that games are. I mean, I have some games that go for $400 and $500. Just one game. I couldn't. There's no way I could do that today. I couldn't feel good about it. Put it that way. I mean, like I do love going to like a garage sale and you see like a box of old games and the lady's like, you're like, hey, how much for the whole box? And she's like, I don't know. And you're like, how about $20? And she's like, sure. And you give her $20 and you take a whole box of games and you got about $1,000 worth of stuff there. And you know that one of her kids or whatever is like
crying.
They were cleaning out the garage and yeah, they're like our age and they were cleaning out the garage and the mom kept telling her, I'm going to sell this stuff. I'm going to sell it. I am. Oh no, you're not, Mom. Don't sell it. And I'm the guy that comes and grabs it. I feel good about that because at least, hey, I have lost stuff like that too. So, but I feel good about it because I know it's going to have a good home here once I go through it and pick through it and everything.
That's a good justification for your rehoming of other people's games that they didn't know they were going to lose. Oh
yeah.
Goodness.
Speaking of games too, we were talking about this before. Like, I got a new PC, which is something I just like gush about now. But I got a new gaming PC for the first time in a long time, and I've been playing my old games on it. And that there's a meme that goes around the PC game sphere where it's like, you're gonna buy a $3,000 PC to play 9-year-old games. Well, yes, but 9-year-old games better. you know. But I was actually playing a game from like I think it was 2019. I played it on 3 other consoles, or 2 actually. I played it on my Xbox, 2 versions of my Xbox I played it on, and I played it on and I have it from PS5, even though I don't own a PS5 yet. I have a copy of it. So I played it twice, and now I'm playing it again on my PC. I started it up last night, and I'll tell you what, the game is called Control. If anybody wants, I'll link out to the show notes just so you can see the game. But it's kind of like it's a pretty cool game. But I don't know why I do this, but I do, and I replay these games, and I'm like now with the mouse and keyboard, and there's a shooting mechanic in the game. I understand now. Like how some people just love the different control schemes on different things that they play. And without a controller or with a controller, because I can hook a controller to my PC too. And I've been thinking about doing that. And then I thought to myself, well, why? You know? I'm like, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Like if I only had the PC, then I can see, well, hook up a controller.
Right.
And I still might just to try it out. But it's kind of interesting to me how, and then I'm playing the game and I'm like, hey, this is fun. Even though I've done it like twice already, I'm like, oh, this is fun.
It was really weird for me as we've gone along recently that you didn't have a good gaming rig. You've had something like that really for the duration of our friendship. And you've had this PC that's kind of languished in the corner. Like it works for certain things.
Well, not anymore. It actually kind of stopped working for pretty much everything. Like it would boot up and it took literally like 20 minutes to boot. And then the hard drive was just thrashing. I had an SSD in there, solid state drive, and that thing just crashed out and I had to retransfer back over to the hard drive. So I had a mechanical drive. Yeah, and I mean, you are kind of weird, but you know, and everybody goes through these ebbs and flows in life, and I just couldn't justify like the $2 or $3 grand spending on a gaming PC. And right before the pandemic, I was actually looking at getting a gaming rig. Like I was starting to like get parts, and I was going to build one, right? And so I bought a case. That's the only thing I bought. I bought a case. I was like, look, and then all of a sudden the pandemic happened and the parts just skyrocketed in price. So parts that cost $100 were like $300. And I'm like, because everyone was building these things because they were sitting at home and they needed not only a gaming rig to play, but they needed something to do their work on.
Well, right. Yeah.
And so all these parts just skyrocketed in price. And like in the aftermarket, and then we got new graphics cards that came out, which demand for them was through the roof. Scalpers were getting like, I mean, the cards were like $1,600 cards. They were getting like $3 and $4 grand for these cards. And I'm like, there's no way I'm spending that, you know? And so I was telling a friend of mine this idea that I wanted to, you know, build a gaming rig. And he's like, well, you can, I'll sell you mine. I'm like, why? I'm like, you built that thing for yourself and it's a beautiful machine, you know? And then he goes, I really could just use the cash right now. And I already have another computer. And he goes, and I don't really game much right now. He goes, I'm working so much. And so him and I, we talked turkey and we got a deal. We got a deal going. And he shipped it to me. And I'm actually thankful that I didn't have to build it, even though it's easy to build for me. But I'm thankful that it was like his personal PC. So I know he put like a lot of love into it. And he does call me like every few days. And he's like, hey, how's that going? What are you playing? You know, what are you doing? How is it working? You know, so I'm like, that's kind of nice to know that he's like invested in it still.
You could just say, you know what? It's the best Facebook machine I've ever had in my life. It's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the best solitaire machine I've ever seen. Solitaire on a 34-inch ultra-wide screen.
It's really good. The resolution on the face card is
4K.
Second to none.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this. Let's put a comma here on this episode just to kind of leave people in. You know, and I close with this thought. I realize some of the time that you spend with friends, you talk about deep things, you talk about important things, and sometimes just talk about things. And I think what happens,
like
honestly,
this is just talking about things.
Yeah, but you know, when you start to talk about productivity and other things in your life. And there's these unstructured things. Those build the relational infrastructure pieces that you need in your life, which will probably be another episode. Yeah. Maybe we put a comma here.
Well, it's kind of currency maybe that you can trade in for something else later.
Like a PC for gaming.
Yeah.
And things.
Yeah, and then, Brian and I, he just sit here and let me talk. That's basically this episode, is me just talking about how cool my gaming
Well, I like
PC
it
is.
when you talk, because I talk. If you, we're going to have some AI go through our old episodes, say, Brian, how much did he talk? It's like, it's Josh's turn.
Like 72%, 72% to the... all you have to do for me is, like, you just have to get me saying, like, yeah, like once a minute, and we just loop that, and you'll never even know I'm not here.
Have you done that?
No, but
I
bet you I could at some point.
Don't do it, though, man.
No.
Anyway. All right, folks, we'll put a comma here on the UnEpisode. Until next time, this is Brian.
This is Josh.
For Curiosity Continuum.